Hello everyone, welcome to the Aseem Chhabra Show. My name is Aseem Chhabra. I'm a freelance journalist in New York City, and I'm on the board of the South Asian Journalists Association. Today we have a wonderful guest, a young new actor. Actually, he's not a new actor, Abhay Deol, who's been in Bollywood for a while, working in the indie films actually. Abhay, congratulations. You had a new film just opened a couple of weeks ago, Devdas. It is a modern day, current interpretation of Devdas. Great film. You carry the film really very well. But what really impressed me was that you actually get credit for the story idea or something, the concept. Yeah. And tell us about that. How did that happen?
Well, I don't remember exactly when that happened. I think it was when I watched Sanjay Bansali's Devdas, and it was really nice. But what struck me most was the whole addiction part of it. You know, the fact that he becomes an alcoholic and he dies as a result of. And I was always looking for a subject that dealt with addiction. Something urban, essentially, and something to do less with alcohol and more with drugs. And I thought, okay, I think it's right there. Everything is there. All I have to do is tweak it a bit, perhaps modernize it, and bring in all the elements that I want to bring into it. And that way I wouldn't have to even work on a story. It's already there to be worked upon. And that's where I think I pretty much started on the journey to come up with the concept for Devdi, the treatment.
And you weren't worried that you would offend sort of these Sharat Chandra sort of fans in Bengal, or well, you know, everybody owns a right. Devdas is like, you know, all India property now, I guess, in that sense.
Which means that anybody's allowed to do what they want with it, if you're saying that. But no, I wasn't afraid of offending. In fact, the whole idea was to appeal to them. The fact is, if you stayed true to the book, if you can interpret something and still stay true to the essence, you know, and those who see the film, and I think the basic essence of Devdas is very much there. I mean, Anurag took off from the book and took it to where he wanted to take it, but for me, I played up to the character that Sharat Chandra had created. Mm-hmm. I didn't change anything. Mm-hmm. Other than what I interpreted from the book when I read it.
And you contemporized it, basically, put it in 2009.
Contemporized it, but he's very much the same character. So by contemporizing, all it was that his clothes were modern. Mm-hmm. And perhaps
the setting
was mm-hmm. modern, but deep inside it was the same character. So, you know, he's obsessive, he's addictive, he's got all these negative qualities about him, which almost felt like the writer wanted to provoke the reader with, and that's what I tried to play up to.
So the conversations that you had with Anurag, especially, I mean, how did you first approach him? I mean, let's hear about that. How did you sell the idea to him?
I called him. I already knew him because we've been friends for a good 8-9 years now, and so we've always met up and discussed stories and the whatnot. He hadn't got me in mind for anything, quite honestly. And we went to the Marriott. There was the finals of the football cup going on, and we were watching that. And at the same time, you know, I said, okay, I actually want to narrate you something. And I've narrated to him many ideas in the past, so it was nothing new for him. And of course, it was a contemporary version of Devdas, and I've done this with other people before I met him. Actually, I narrated to a whole bunch of friends. I would either base it in Bombay or in LA. Nobody would ever guess what film it was. The LA one was a bit more contrived, because you're taking out of the country, it makes a little difference.
Yeah, they were going to be Indian characters, yeah.
They're Indian characters.
Right.
It's a different country, so it was quite contrived. I mean, that's where the Chandramukhi character became a foreigner, essentially. And I narrated to him, and he found it interesting. Just like everybody else thought my story was interesting, you know, okay, it's got something about it. But nobody ever thought it was great. Until I told them that it was based on a classic book, it's been made into a film like 11, 12 times, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, it's actually Devdas. Which is when they would be a lot more intrigued by it. It was more than interesting after that, and that's exactly what happened with Anurag, and he just kept quiet for half an hour. Every time I want to say something, he'd tell me to shut up, because he was lost in his own thoughts of what he could do with it, which felt good. And then he said something to me. I said, so we can make this film together? He said, yes. I said, so finally we get to work together when I come up with something. And he said, yeah, because I don't think I'd ever come up with a character for you. So I was like, okay, is that a compliment? I don't know.
You carry the whole film. I mean, it is really impressive. I mean, there are moments that you're not there on the screen for a while when the Chandramukhi character is being introduced, when Paro is being introduced separately, and there were these, special cards just for them kind of on the screen. But you carry the film, and especially the second half, the self-destruction. I mean, I can ask you. I mean, I don't know if you've had experience. Everyone drinks, and but drinking to that extent, and also the drugs to go on. I mean, did you do any research, work on it? How'd you work with the director on that? It's a very difficult film to carry, really.
It was, it was pretty intense while making it, and it takes its toll on you, I suppose, physically, mentally, emotionally, and all that kind of stuff that's had to happen, which you just kind of then use and try and push that into the film and into the performance, which is what I try to do. In terms of the drugs and alcohol, I mean, I've already done my experimentation in my teenage years, in my early 20s. I think all of us get exposed to different substances when we're going through college and that kind of stuff. And some of us choose to experiment, some of us don't, and some of us get very addicted. I had friends who got really addicted, though. I didn't. I touched upon this, I touched upon that. Oh, this is nice, that was nice. And so it was great, but it was nothing. It wasn't something that took over. So when I did this film, and when I was told, okay, this is the drug you're doing or whatever, I knew that, because I've experienced it, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. And more than anything else, what was more important was what the character was going through, rather than showing, oh, look, I'm tripping, oh, look, I'm doing this drug. It wasn't about that. It was just about the mental state of mind of the person. And that's something you just, I don't know, I like to go with the flow, I suppose, and discover in the moment what's coming.
So you're becoming an expert on doing films in Delhi now. I mean, Oi Lucky Lucky was a Delhi film also, and that's a very likable character, very charming. Although there's a sort of a dark side to the whole story about just the lives of these Punjabi characters. And I'm from Delhi, and I sort of understand this Karol Bagh sort of Patel Nagar kind of. But everyone wants to make it big and. What was that experience like working on the film, and the coolness in which you always walk out with all these? Of course, you weren't robbing the houses.
Well, that's Dibakar for you. Dibakar, I think, is really good in that sense of capturing the essence of Delhi, and he's from there as well. So he understands the lingo really well. He understands the people really well, the different characters, their backgrounds. What is the difference between someone from Karol Bagh as opposed to somebody from GK? He knows all those little nuances, and he played upon that. That was actually a tougher role than Devdas for me in that sense, because it was someone completely alien for me to play, from a completely different background. The way he spoke was completely, his accent was different. So I was very worried, and that one I just totally left myself to Dibakar, because there were times when I wouldn't know what to do, and Dibakar is not the kind of person to show you what to do, but he'll give you reference points, and which is what he did. He's a fabulous actor as well, so he said, look, if I was to do it, I'd do it like this. And now I'm really bad when someone does it in the right way, and I've seen them do it, then I have to find a different way to do it.
Exactly, you're not going to imitate them.
And Dibakar is also another person who would be like, I don't want you to do what I did,
right,
but here's my interpretation, and then take it from there. In terms of accent, though, I would happily copy. Manu helped me a lot, who's playing Bengali in the film.
Okay.
So it was this kind of help that I was taking in terms of the character for Oi Lucky, and that's Dibakar's sense of humor for you. It is very dry, it is very, very subtle, it's dark. I mean, it's definitely not happy humor, but it's almost like a comment. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just he's very insightful as a human.
Yeah, I love the production design of the film. Did you shoot? I mean, mostly in Delhi, in people's homes?
Yeah, it's all real locations.
Yeah,
and it's all Delhi, pretty much.
And there's a real genuine realness. The characters and the clothes they wear, the food they're eating, and
it is pretty authentic. His whole team was pretty good in that sense. He got people from there as well, and all of them are very driven. All of them knew what they were doing. It was probably one of the best crews I've worked with on Oi Lucky.